My journey as an actor began 15 years ago. As I was walking down to class when I was in my first year of college, a lady told me that I looked familiar. I looked like an Italian actor named Massimo Troisi. And I looked him up and called the family, and it turned out he was blood related. And he died of cancer in 1995. After the Navy, I had a little bit of benefits to go back to school, so I went back to school and studied acting and went on auditions and landed my first play at the American Theater of Actors on West 54th Street between 8th and 9th Avenue, Manhattan. The man's name was James Jennings. He still owns the theater there. He's 84 years old now. This is a play I did in 2009 called The Check is in the Mail. My aunt gave me an idea. She said, maybe you should try out comedy. So I auditioned at the Comic Strip and went to open mics 3 times a week in the Greenwich Village section of New York. Comedy was the hardest thing I've ever tried to do, to try to make people laugh. But I guess I had some comedy for it and talent because I landed shows. But it was way less money than acting for the television. Smaller dressing rooms, and I had to write my own material and study it. And I performed in so many different theaters that are now shut down. This was at the Huron Club, where I wasn't paid here. This was at a show where the producer never paid me as well. I found out later that everybody got paid like $25. When you're a comedian and actor, you get taken advantage of left and right. You get no sleep. You have to be sometimes on the sets at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they give you a costume and they just give you a number, and you better not complain because they'll just fire you. Professional wrestling was always in the background, and I always needed a job. I was never rich. I never came from a high upbringing. I came from a working class family, lower middle class, and we would take the subway to work every day. And I had one thing that some actors didn't have, was a big credit card. Because in the Navy, they give you a $30,000 credit limit. I extended that to $35,000, and I was continuing my career in acting and comedy for quite some time with that. When they're only paying you $25, sometimes $15 a show, you have to try and find work. So I worked in restaurants, I worked in a pizzeria, I worked in bartending. My uncle did my headshots for me, but he moved to Florida, so I had to try and make my own money in my own way. And I would go on auditions and I would meet people who worked on The Sopranos, and they said, you have talent, keep on going. So I kept going to the same theater on West 54th Street. And I would go upstate too, just to try and keep the boat afloat. I got a union job here. During the pandemic, I was still trying to work. And they would do testing on site every day 3 times a day test, and we had to wear a mask no matter what for central casting. Clark Gable started in central casting in the 1920s. Rudolph Valentino, they all started out there. People told me, hey, why don't you go out to the West Coast? So I flew out to the West Coast and went to Las Vegas to see what that was all about. They said, no, you got to go further out there. You got to go to Hollywood. You got to go to California. So I booked a flight and I went to Los Angeles to try and get a job. But to no avail. I came back to New York. I said, you know what? New York is still in the same boat as LA is. So let me just try and just stay here for a while and try to make it here. There's Broadway. There's television shows. There's movie theaters. I mean, I could get a job. There's got to be something. Background acting was the only thing I could get at the time, so I would get paid like $150 a show, minus taxes and stuff. Sometimes it would be $180, which wasn't bad. And I was still doing open mics, which they don't tell you this, but you have to pay. You have to pay to do open mics.
What's up, guys? I'm Johnny Boots, the J in MJ Wrestling Shoots. Just want to thank everybody for getting us up to 65,000 subscribers. 100K, here we go. What's up, guys? I'm Johnny Boots, and I just want to recommend this place, E&A Jewelry in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Going back upstate and working for restaurant work and hotel jobs. Thank God I met a friend who owns a bunch of businesses and, you know, could give me a leg up every now and then when I need it.
Checks from Google, and all I gotta do is just post up videos and shit. It's just like, it's kind of sad because like I miss doing this shit, live theater.
Then, as an actor, you have to make sure you maintain your social media presence. I always thought, you know, maybe I could one day go back to LA. I got invited to YouTube Studios one day through a friend, but there was no money involved. Just an experience, and you know, wasn't really worth it. It was interesting though. Did this movie on Craigslist. I did a show on Netflix, but it was only background work. But it was interesting. It was fun. This was in Queens. Then I met a lady she said that she was doing a show every Friday for comedy, so I did that for a while, but no money there. I like wearing boots and being strong, and that's why I came up with a character called Johnny Boots. I saw an interview one day with Jack Nicholson saying, if when you're an actor, you meet 10 times the amount of people you do if you're a regular person. And he's right. I meet so many people being on set and traveling and trying to make a living as an actor. You don't always remember everybody's name, but you know, you get their social media and whatnot and try and stay in contact. But it's a very lonely life sometimes, and broke all the time. There's no money in it. You're always trying to pay for your own transportation, take taxis and Ubers and Lyfts and trains and buses. Sometimes, I would sleep in a rental car because it was just too much money. Too much money they wanted for a hotel room, and they were assholes. You meet a lot of scumbags in this world. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't like you because you're an actor. They say, "Oh, he's a stiff. Like he's not gonna pay his bills." But I always.
Hey, what's up? How you guys doing? Woo! Good. Yeah, this is 5:30. It's been a long time, a long wait, but it's all right. I'm here.
I always try to get on Craigslist or Central Casting and try to get booked for something. If I had no money, I tried to get booked for something. You have to be basically like your own boss, like an entrepreneur type. But it's very depressing sometimes because it's not like you could go out anytime you want, because you got to pay your cell phone bill, you got to pay the light bill, you got to pay, if let's say your water heater breaks, you got to pay for that. It's very, very little wiggle room. Sometimes people will give you gifts, and you could be grateful for that. And you rely on your family a lot. If they have a regular job, they could help you out.
I forgot to record.
Hey, I'm not offended. Keep going.
That's right. Yeah, let's create a riot right now.
A girl came up the other day. She says, "How come your titties are bigger than mine?" I was like, I don't know.
Genetics?
He was like, "Yeah, man, you want some weed, man? Got that shit, man. Got that fucking, that chronic, man. Got that cake to have
Experience going up in the air. Ladies and gentlemen, Jesus Christ is here. I feel him, man. I was at the church the other day, and I was like, yo, take this money, man, take it. He was like, my son, what is your name? I was like, Jonathan. I never heard of you. I was like, I'm new to this fucking shit. And he says, yo, what up? Show me the onions. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, yo, man, don't fucking cut me in line. He's like, yo, man, there's no problem, bro, no problem. And he had this like $3,000 leather jacket on, and my friend's like, yo, man, who the fuck is that? I said, that's fucking OJ. She says, let me get a chicken cheesesteak and more onions raw. You're from Virginia. Is it true you guys fuck your sisters down there? No? How do you get hair like that?
Throw it out.
Shit, man, I wish I had hair like that. What do you think of my head?
It's a choice.
Johnny!
I was at the deli the other day. Which one? It's called the Dirty Bodega. Wait a minute. It's your deli. I know it's your deli. Are you Frank? You own the deli?
Yeah. And friends, family and friends. And you'll get pervert directors that want you to perform in your underwear and possibly naked. And they want you to take your clothes off like you're like a porn star. That's why I always say as a joke on live streams, I'm a whore. I mean, you really basically have no bottom when you're an actor. I mean, you get paid double for you to be naked on screen and camera. So it's definitely not easy. But it's a hell of a dream that I wish one day I can make it, and I'll never give up. Never.